Are the Marlins up for sale? Is Eury Gurriel going to sign with the Marlins? Who is going to be playing for the Marlins in spring? And maybe who isn't going to be playing for Team GB in the WBC? Tons to get into, all on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I, of course, am your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up on Twitter at Miami Marlins _UK. Hit subscribe to the pod wherever you get them. And yes, there is a YouTube channel. Head over there too. Hit subscribe. Enjoy the view, perhaps. It's Locked On Marlins is the YouTube channel. See what they did there. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's Wednesday, the 25th of Jan. And guys, there's tons to bring you up to speed on. Tons. News and notes all over the show. We did an episode Monday. We were thinking about Eury Gurriel. Is that going to happen? It sounded like it was going to happen. There's some information there. There's Jazz Chisholm news. There's Brian Anderson news. There's the Marlins up for sale news. Guys, it's the off season. It's January. All business should be done, but there is still rumors. There's still drama. And of course, there's still Locked On Marlins. Yes, sir. So where do we start? I want to start with Brian Anderson, the sex god. Old friend Brian Anderson slipped under the radar there. He is signed with the Brewers, plans to be playing predominantly third base. The Marlins decided to move on from Brian Anderson, non-tendered. If you recall, he was projected at kind of $5-6 million in arbitration. The Marlins declined that. He ended up signing for $3.5 million, I believe, with the Brewers. Some incentives in there to maybe get him back up to that arbitration number. But clearly for Brian Anderson right now, it's a rehab situation. It's he needs to prove that he can stay healthy and the shoulder is good. On from Brian Anderson. And it's fair to say Brian Anderson is very happy about that. There was a quote, Isaac Azoo put it out there. I'm assuming this was from the presser. Maybe it was a direct conversation. I don't know. But he put it out there to say, and I'll just read it because this, it's hard hitting for sure. Brian Anderson on joining the Brewers. I'm just excited to be with an organization whose focus is really on winning and competing at every level. I think that's something I'm looking forward to. Boy, oh boy. There's shots fired and then there's Brian Anderson shots fired. What's he saying there? The Marlins aren't serious about winning? Come on, BA. You can't shoot those shots when you've been injured for half a season for the last 2 years. And when you've been on the field, you've looked miserable and the performance has been miserable. Come on, BA. Anyway, wish him well in Milwaukee, clearly. And we'll see him at some point. I've always loved BA. I've always loved BA from 2019 and maybe into 2022. Like that Brian Anderson, just full of exuberance and hope, and he was a big part of the rebuild. In 2021 and 2022, it was clear that BA, things had changed. It was time for a bit of a change of scenery. Thus, so were the Marlins. So the Marlins move on for Brian Anderson, and Brian Anderson is happy about that, and he is dropping bombs. Love to see it. Let's segue into Eury Gurriel. Our man Craig Mish, of course, he's absolutely firing articles out left, right, and center. First thing I have to say as well, I absolutely miss Swings and Mishes. I miss it. I mean, that Friday episode, every Friday, maybe every other Friday, depending on when him and JT can get an episode together. But, you'd go into the weekend feeling hot, rumors galore, bringing us all up to speed. I miss Swings and Mishes. Hope to bring it back. Maybe I'll get Craig on this pod the next couple of days. Just kind of give us all some therapy on that one. But in the article, and the articles are being thick and fast, subscribe to the Herald, guys, and get the content. It's absolutely quality, right? Craig is the man. And him and Barry Jackson have been doing a great job. One of the main notes in there, Eury Gurriel. There was talk of, the signing was imminent. It felt like, I guess we have to be relatively careful. This is one of the key learnings that I have to make through this offseason is Twitter. Twitter's different to what it used to be. Twitter's wild, even wilder than it's always been. Perhaps you do have to be careful in terms of who you trust with the information you're being provided. Craig purposefully a step back away from rumors, etc., and he just drops the news. So Craig is the source. When he drops the news, you know it's done. Craig's always at the heart of it, Marlins. But to say that, there's been a few rumors coming out and, we all jump aboard the hype train because we want fun. Twitter is fun. We want fun. We want news. We want action. And the news coming out was Gurriel and the Marlins were close. It was almost to be expected to happen. Then you get the news from Craig Mish to say things have cooled. They've stopped. Perhaps, I don't know. Don't quite know exactly how far the Marlins have gone in the process with Gurriel. They had at least two meetings, I believe, was reported. But in the end, it looks like the Marlins and Gurriel won't be a fit. What I should say is when I first looked at Gurriel a few weeks back when his name was mentioned, and I went straight to his Baseball Savant profile, and as I said on this pod, the profile looked like a profile of a 2022 Marlins hitter. Full of blue. Blue everywhere. It was insane. It was poor. Really poor. When you dig into Gurriel and start to kind of ask other guys, other fans and friends of mine that are Astros fans, they love Gurriel. And they also said that he was better at first base than maybe was advertised, etc. So the more I've thought about it with Gurriel, the more I was okay with it. However, and I think I said this on Monday, it feels like it'd be a tough sell to Gurriel. Like, if Gurriel just wants to come to Miami, just like take one payday because he knows he's cooked and he's washed, fair enough. But really, the Marlins shouldn't be signing that kind of guy. And B, I'm not convinced that that's what Gurriel believes right now. I think he's been an everyday player for the Astros for the last 6-7 years. So, it's back to the old offseason problems the Marlins have faced into. Gurriel probably doesn't want to come to Miami. And the Marlins probably don't want to pay him, overpay him anyway, to come to Miami. Thus, he's not going to come to Miami, is the most likely on this one. We're going to end up with Gurriel likely signing with the Twins or back to the Astros. I think in reality, he probably wants to go back to the Astros. And if they pick up the phone, Gurriel will go back to the Astros. No doubt about it, in my opinion. So the Marlins may be out on Gurriel. Gurriel may be out on the Marlins. That's kind of the way it's been with these offensive free agents in the main, where Marlins check in, make an offer, a fair offer in many ways. The guys sit on it and think, do I want to do it? And as well for Gurriel, where would he play? Where would he fit? Where would he fit into this roster? It was always a bit of a head scratcher. The Marlins do need some depth at first base, but in reality, Urias now provides that depth at first base. And I mean, the Marlins have got like 7 second basemen on the roster, so they can fill second base pretty easily if they want to. So, yeah, it's a deal that was talked about that didn't happen. Like Chapman, that was talked about, didn't happen. The Marlins never made an offer to the Chapman. I get the sense that they have made an offer to Gurriel. Maybe the dollar amount wasn't right. Maybe the fit wasn't right. Either way, it felt like a bit of a wonky fit, particularly when you added in Urias into the mix that, in effect, provides that first base depth. For me, it just, the fit wasn't right. And the Marlins, we roll on. We roll on. Let's pause the action here, guys, and let you know about our new partners, our new sponsor partners here. FanDuel, yes, sir. And I talked about them on Monday. And, we're absolutely hyped. Absolutely hyped to be working with FanDuel. Everyone is absolutely hyped for the NFL playoffs. Yes, sir. And we're excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the number one sports book in America. Number one sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They've got so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. Sounds perfect. New customers, and if you are a new customer, listen up quick now. You can join today to get started with $150 in free bets. $150 in free bets, guaranteed. When you place your first $5 bet, just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Reminder on that one, FanDuel.com/lockedon. See, simple, right? FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from money line to point spreads to player props. They've got it all. And you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Absolutely love those parlays. Pile them in. Going to be a lot of action going on this weekend, no doubt, with these playoffs. All on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Football fans, don't miss out. Place your $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Wonderful. Even got the graphics too. Wonderful. Here we go. Hey, yeah, reminder. Hey, welcome, guys. It's Locked On Marlins, and I'm the host, Peter Pratt. Okay, so Anderson out, slander towards the Marlins. There we go. Gurriel met with, not happening by the sound of it. What else is happening? This is painful, by the way. This is a painful topic. As you know, I'm sitting here and podcasting and recording in England, in Great Britain. And Jazz Chisholm Jr. effectively is the El Capitan of Great Britain. He is the star name, was the star name, and was committed to playing shortstop for Great Britain, as we saw in the Marlins season, the back end of the year. And he took great pride in sharing that information, and I'm pretty confident that he was very excited about representing Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic, in the group, playing out in Arizona, which also had the USA in the group, so that would have been wild. The news dropped yesterday. Painful news to us Great British fans that Jazz Chisholm, it appears, will not be playing for Great Britain right now. The Marlins have the ability to block it, and the reason they are blocking it, and the reason they can block it, is because the amount of time that Jazz Chisholm spent on the IL last year, both in terms of the number of days in total, plus the number of days at the back end of the year too. And at the end of the day, he's a Marlins player, and the Marlins should absolutely be protecting Jazz and protecting their player if they feel they need to. The news obviously dropped that Jazz will be transitioning into center field. And so this is an interesting one where I get the sense that this isn't about injury prevention. But yes, I mean, all the clubs clearly don't want any of their guys to go and get hurt in the WBC. Understandable, no doubt. But the way this is positioned is more about, we want Jazz to have as many reps as we can in the outfield and starting to familiarize himself with center field. We want him out there shagging balls. Or so it's called in the US. That means something very different in the UK. I can tell you that right now. Shagging in the outfield, that's an arrestable offense in the UK. But anyway, let's move on from that one. But the Marlins, they want Jazz to be up to speed if indeed that this is real. And I think the one thing we have to call out here, guys, is the reason this is happening, and this isn't like the Marlins want this to happen. This is Jazz rocking up to Skip and saying, Skip, if you haven't traded for someone and you have this hole that remains, then I'm happy to step up and do it. The Marlins clearly, within their power, have the ability to go and trade for a guy if they want to. Maybe sign a guy, but more likely trade for someone and fill this hole. And then Jazz slides back into second or short. There's still a good few months until the season starts. And so who knows? Sean Barrett, of course, UK GOAT, we were texting earlier today. And we were kind of going back and forth on this topic, saying, I wonder Jazz actually plays at all in center field. And we'll wait and see. Right now, he's transitioning out of center. But the Marlins still have a need in center field in reality. And wouldn't it be great to just plumb a veteran guy in there that is a known commodity in center field, rather than just hoping, rather than just going for Jonathan VR and hoping, and that didn't work, rather than hoping and going with Jesus Sanchez, and that didn't work. That's a little bit unfair. Jesus Sanchez wasn't too bad in center field, to be honest. He was okay. The problem with Jesus Sanchez was the offensive stuff went backwards, and you end up with too much mental capacity thinking about fielding when Jesus Sanchez, he's got to hit. He has to hit. And for me, that was the one where it clearly started to impact both ways. The toll it takes on your body, the toll it takes on your mind, fielding that position started to impact the hitting. And that's where things get interesting for the Marlins with Jazz at center field. Jazz's stick has to play. In reality, it probably will play. But what we don't want to see is Jazz's stick and health decline because he's out there in center field. If that were to happen, the Jazz Chisholm Jr., they should be protecting Jazz and putting him in the best spot to succeed. Whether that's center field, we'll wait and see. Jazz thinks he can do it. Jazz thinks he can win a Gold Glove. Money Mike, he's got his view on that. We'll wait and see how it plays out. The best of friends going head to head in the Gold Glove, perhaps. But I'm still skeptical on center field in terms of whether it actually happens. The Marlins clearly still have the ability to make it not happen. Ramon Laureano's still there. Brian Reynolds, Craig Mish reporting. They're not listening on Reynolds. They actually want to. Pirates are all in, it seems. The Pirates want to go all in, and they're going to stick and keep Reynolds. They're not actually listening right now. So, that situation, there's plenty of water to go under the Reynolds bridge, let's say. But as we sit here right now on the 25th of Jan, Jazz Chisholm Jr., it appears, not going to be playing for Great Britain. Trust me, I have had tons of people messaging, slandering the Giants, slandering the Marlins, slandering Kim Ang, slandering everyone linked to this decision, because as British baseball fans, we wanted Jazz Chisholm Jr. there. We did. And it seems like it won't happen, and it's the Marlins that have blocked it. So I understand it from a Marlins perspective, but from a British perspective, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And the other thing you should say is maybe some actual in-game action. Okay, it's only 4 games, unless they get through, but some in-game action, before, with the bright lights on, could that be good for Jazz? I guess he's going to be playing short, so that doesn't help. Maybe, the Marlins could say, listen, Jazz has to play center field for Great Britain. I don't know. The way this is panning out, the Marlins have an out. They have a way to remove Jazz from the competition. They won't want him playing in it. Jazz wants to. But at the end, Jazz needs to be ready to go if indeed center field is happening. Something else that dropped out. This wasn't from the Herald article. This was a different article. I think it was the LA Times. Fish stripes were on it early doors and quick. The fact that it was talked about that the Marlins could be coming up for sale. So it sounds like all of a sudden there's teams going up for sale left, right, and center. The Nats, the Angels, it's talked about. The Orioles, maybe. The Rays have got an interesting situation. The A's have got an interesting situation. It also said the Marlins could be coming up for sale as well shortly. Bruce Sherman straight on the front foot with that one. It's a nonsense. It ain't happening, and we're not selling, effectively, is what Bruce is saying. But yeah, wild reporting. Again, who can we trust? Who can we trust on Twitter? Who can we trust in these articles? What is going on? We just don't know where to turn. But it's seemingly that the Marlins aren't for sale. I did see quite a few people getting excited about that. And they're excited about it because if all of a sudden you get a Steve Cohen 2.0 that comes into the Marlins, that changes things. And as fans, we're all for it. We're all for it. So I can understand why the Marlins fans were getting excited at that potential situation. But Bruce, straight on front foot, ain't happening. Stability, I'm all for. And let's be honest, the Marlins payroll has risen. They have committed money. They're just not committing to 300-400 million contracts, which is probably sensible, to be honest with you, but don't tell everyone that one. Running low on time, breezy pod, solo pod on a Wednesday, but there's still more to get into. The spring training rosters announced today. What I would say is I believe there's a Fish Stripes live stream happening tonight, and there's loads of guys on there that know these guys, the guys that have been added or invited to spring training in much more detail than me. The headline clearly is that Eury Perez, that is the main headline. The main headline name is Eury Perez will be invited to spring training as a non-roster invitee. Dax Fulton also, and also Jacob Barrelsberry. 3 main studs, prospect studs for the Fish, all getting invites to spring. That's going to be fun, no doubt. There's other names in there too, which will be interesting. And I'm sure the guys at Fish Stripes will cover it. But things are starting to get real now, guys, right? The rosters are starting to get out there. We're working out who's scrapping for places, who is in the battle. Garrett Hampson's in the mix too. His name's been mentioned a few times. And I think when the signing happened, the minor league signing, I had the sense that we'd be seeing probably a decent amount of Garrett Hampson in 2023. At some point, he is 2023's version of 2022. That's the deal. Let's say you're going to need those guys, and we're going to see them. So there's tons of names in there to get into. The headline clearly: Eury Perez, Dax Fulton, Jacob Berry, all going to be up in spring camp, which is going to be fun. And we're going to see some action of those guys up close and personal, which would be a lot of fun. We're out of time. I've probably missed one or two things, but that's 20 minutes in. Breezy pod. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. You know the drill. If there's news, there'll be episodes. And at the moment, there's tons of news. With that being said, that's Wednesday's episode. I'm out of here. Be back very soon. See you soon, guys.